Okay, in this video we're going to be looking at some more government strategies related to trying to boost growth and development within these low-income countries, looking at promoting democracy, reducing trade protection, reducing population pressures, and improving the position of women. So, first of all, reforming government and promoting democracy. So we want, by allowing the majority of voters participate in elections, they get a range of candidates to choose from. That will ensure more freedom of speech and will also ensure the government is more accountable for their actions. So it allows the media to be critical of government policies rather than being in a situation where it's illegal for the media to speak out against the government. By giving people a voice, by allowing people to vote, then the government is held accountable for all of their decisions. You look at a country like Australia, when politicians are spending extravagantly, for example, on plane trips or helicopter rides or chaperoning their dogs or anything like that, there is public scrutiny when they do these things. We need to ensure that occurs in developing countries as well, so that they're not wasting limited funds. So ensuring a strong legal framework is in place to protect the rights of workers, to try and reduce the incidence of child labour, so trying to reduce child labour so they can get a proper education, giving people access to freedom of speech, policies to protect the environment, and also policies to encourage competition within markets, because we know that competition promotes lower prices, we know that competition promotes greater efficiency, so trying to reduce government licenses and restrictions that prevent competition as much as possible is really important as well. There's a direct negative correlation between the level of investment and economic growth in a country and the level of corruption. So the more corruption that occurs, the less investment and economic growth. So we need to ensure that there is less corruption, and that governments need to be able to pass environmental laws and protect workers so that corrupt policies cannot take place or corrupt actions cannot take place. Reducing trade protection by rich countries is critical as well. Okay, rich countries protect their farmers, they protect their manufacturing firms and miners from competition from these poor countries who are trying to sell them primary commodities. They're trying to sell them coffee, rice, soybeans, maize, sugar, as well as your basic manufactured goods, but the high level of protection in these countries is making it really hard for them to do so. If all countries reduce protection, it should help to boost export incomes of poor countries, reduce their need to borrow money because they won't be in so much debt, and therefore lead to less foreign debt for these countries. This should also help make essential imports like equipment, medical supplies and technologies more affordable for low-income countries. There's a group called the Cairns Group, which is a group of 19 agricultural exporting countries, and their aim is to improve access for agricultural products to global markets. So they want to give access to poorer countries to these markets so they can increase their income levels, their export income, keep their current account deficits low, and therefore should help to reduce their foreign debt and their reliance on foreign borrowing. So anything to try and promote trade and reduce protections from developed countries is really important for promoting development within developing countries. Another thing they need to do is reducing income and wealth inequality. So low-income countries have the higher Gini coefficient, so we've talked about some of the reasons for that. A more equal distribution of income helps to promote economic development and growth. As these families' incomes increase, they spend more, and that creates more jobs and employment going forward. So inequality in many countries has fallen noticeably in the last few years because of improvements in access to education. Everyone gets access to primary school. More cash grants are being given to poor countries to help them support their daily needs, and that's led to higher incomes and increased spending because low-income earners have the higher propensity to spend, which has again flowed through into increased employment and then flowed into even more income and more spending throughout the economy. So what they need to do is try to implement policies like progressive tax systems, access to free basic community services, trying to promote competition and ban uncompetitive practices. So the more competition, the lower prices generally. That will help low-income earners, as well as trying to reduce corruption. So more money can be spent on health and education and subsidising important products like education going forward. Reducing population pressures is also a really key policy. So population in low-income countries grows twice as fast as in rich countries. and we've talked about the reasons why, including high infant mortality, lack of education, etc. This is putting strain on infrastructure and services like transport, water, power, and can lead to high levels of unemployment and underemployment of resources. Improving health is also really important, so giving access to clean water, not clear, controlling the spread of HIV, AIDS and malaria, and improving education standards and reducing infant mortality can help reduce population growth. So by improving health outcomes, yes, it means people will live longer, but that will mean people will have less children, and that can promote economic development and growth as well. It also promotes participation. Increasing educational standards is really important, can also lead to increased skills, increasing innovation and higher productivity, which will lead to higher output. So investing in human capital is really important. Education can help to reduce infant mortality rates. Improving the position of women can reduce population pressures as well. So getting more women into work, notifying them of the importance of contraception, using education to try and solve some of these population pressures is really important. For example, every $1 invested in contraception reduces the cost of pregnancy-related care for the government by $1.47. So even though there might be initial outlay, they're going to get that back and more so. Adolescent pregnancies limit the capacity of young mothers to work and have been said to reduce GDP by around $7.7 billion in developing countries in recent years. So up to 30% of their GDP is wasted because of these adolescent pregnancies and taking women away from the workforce at a really young age and not giving them the ability to invest in their education and their skills. Improving the position of women is the last thing that we'll be talking about. So there's often less opportunities for women in the workforce. This can be rectified by enabling girls better access to education, which can improve innovation and productivity, improving access to sexual and reproductive health, so there is less instances of teen pregnancy and potential diseases, sexually transmitted diseases. Improving infrastructure so women don't have to waste so much time collecting water from wells. 200 million hours are spent each day collecting water from wells. Increasing women's access to microcredit, so giving them small loans that they can use to start up businesses is really important, so they can promote and encourage entrepreneurialism. That can give them money to buy mobile phones, buy basic equipment and materials. Increasing the number of women in national parliaments is another key thing that is important. Thank you.